Triathlon is the top story in the Straits Times here in Singapore, and wherever you are, it is hard to deny that the headlines around the PTO are not getting bigger and bolder. And so here we go once again, with a new weekend on a new continent, in a new country, with new rivalries to ignite and new champions to crown. And this is normally the point where we set out our stall, and we hype all that is to come, and we laud the contenders, and we really do begin to stoke the competitive tensions. And then every so often you just have to stop. Take a breath and recognise that it is the pictures that need to do the talking. Have a look at this as we say welcome to the PTO's newest Playground of the Gods. Coming up a little later, we'll see if Kristian Blummenfelt could finally break his PTO duck against an impressive lineup that included Sam Laidlow and fellow compatriot Gustav Iden. But first we focus on the women's race. And after finishing second in the European and US Opens earlier this year, Ashleigh Gentle looked determined to go one better this time out, but the likes of Lucy Charles-Barclay and Haug had no intention of making life easy for the Australian. Let's get straight into the action.
Your marks.
We are racing in the Lion City, 100 kilometres of top swim bike run here in Singapore for the PTO Asia Open. $600,000 is the prize pool today, as well as lucrative PTO points. On the course, we have 3 of the top 5 ranked women in the world, but history tells us a new star will likely be born today, joining the top names in the sport. We are underway in the swim, which is 2 kilometres in the gorgeous Marina Bay, consisting 2 loops and a short Aussie exit, where the athletes will hoist themselves out of the water, dart across the mat for a few metres before diving back in. You will notice some coloured swim caps which will help us identify various athletes. More about that in a moment. My name is John Good and I'm delighted to be in commentary by top podcaster Jack Kelly. Jack, how good is this? A second PTO Tour race, twice within 2 weeks, inviting the very best to race.
It's amazing, John, and this swim course is amazing. Singapore in general is just an amazing town. This swim start has sort of gone exactly how we expected it to a degree. We started with those 4 groups that we talked about. We had the favourites out on the right, and then we had 2 groups in the middle and 1 out on the left. And you saw on that overhead picture, that was exactly what we could see. We could sort of see 4 points. But what's happened, and I think what we all expected to happen, is Lucy Charles was just able to take out a lot faster than everyone else. Her plan before the race, I was standing on the pontoon. She was speaking about it. She chose the right-hand side so that she was next to Haug and Ashleigh Gentle, and so she was away from the other strong swimmers. So her goal early was to break Ash and Anne straight away, so take out fast so that they couldn't get her feet, which objective 1 done, and that's a big objective because she would see Ashleigh Gentle and Anne Haug as the 2 big favourites and the 2 strongest challengers. But there's already, by the looks of it, about a 20-metre gap to third, which is exactly how Lucy Charles needs to play this race today.
And Jack, can you talk about going out super hot in the water when the water temperature is knocking on 29 degrees as well?
That's just it's so hot for a swim. We get so used to water temperatures of around 20 degrees, 22 degrees, and 28. I touched the water. It was boiling hot. Yeah, it was boiling hot. It suits the strong swimmers, right? So tough conditions suit whoever's best at the thing. Tough conditions on the bike suit the strongest bikers. Tough conditions on the run suit the strongest runners. Tough conditions in the swim, just the same as that. They suit the strongest swimmers. So expect to see all of these athletes in the caps who we've sort of identified as some of the strongest swimmers in the field. Expect to see them have good swims. Also, expect to see big gaps open up in the second lap of the swim, because when it gets hot, you can sort of tolerate it for about 200 to 400 metres. and then it starts getting hotter and hotter. They'll get out of the Aussie exit and they'll go, oh, I'm hot. Heart rate will be super high, like 190 beats per minute. And then it's really hard for weaker swimmers to then pick up again on the second lap. But the strong swimmers will flourish there. There's a lot of hyperbole around how good a swimmer Lucy Charles-Barclay is, and it's probably deserved, to be fair. She's probably the best swimmer I've ever seen. So, you don't expect to see many people on her feet, but if there was someone who was going to do it, an ex-Olympic swimmer in Sarah Perez-Sala is probably the person who it's going to be.
And how much does this slightly longer swim over the 100-kilometre distance favour athletes like Lucy Charles-Barclay, who will lead from the gun and obviously try and get as big a gap as possible going through T1 and into T2?
I think this distance suits Lucy Charles-Barclay perfectly, but I also think this course in Singapore suits Lucy Charles-Barclay. The reason why is because it's a hot swim. So the hotter the swim, not a wetsuit swim, that means that it favours her as a strong swimmer. But the bike's also really hard. So they're going to get out of this swim. There's going to be a lot of tired, cooked athletes with really high heart rates coming out of this swim because they're going fast, the water's hot, and it's non-wetsuit, straight onto a very, very hard bike course, which might allow Lucy to build her gap. So her big goal is to build her gap to Annie Haug and Ashleigh Gentle all day.
These Aussie exits aren't easy either, are they? How challenging is it going to be to hoist yourself out of the water here?
Yeah, well, typically they have a ramp that's a little deeper. So, yeah, it's just another layer of challenge for the athletes, but they've been down here doing their practice swims. They know exactly what they're in for, and you'll see them almost do like a lateral chin-up to get up there.
We see Sarah Perez-Sala take the lead with that short sprint, and now Lucy Charles-Barclay becomes the chaser.
As we see Lottie Wilms come through and Fenella Langridge, some of the better swimmers in this field. And there's Ashleigh Gentle right there. So she's about 30 seconds, 35 seconds down at this Aussie exit. Annie Haug right with her, Sarah True as well, Radka Karlefelt. So this is a little power group, Imogen Simmons. I think they'll be trying to keep this pack together. I mean, there's safety in numbers when you swim in a group. You save a lot of energy by sitting on the hip or the feet. So these girls at the back of this group will be desperate.
This is pretty insane what we're seeing here. This is a far bigger gap than I think any of us predicted. We were all predicting 90 seconds, 2 minutes. This looks like the gap between Lucy Charles-Barclay and Sarah Perez-Sala is at least 2 minutes, if not 2.5 to 3 minutes. Maybe even more than that. Way more than anyone expected, I think.
So in they go into T1, Jack, and for once Lucy Charles-Barclay has a bit of company. She's not going to be solo as they get on the bike.
Yeah, but this is amazing for her. I mean, in the US Open, we saw a perfect position for Ashleigh Gentle where she just set her race up perfectly. Today, Lucy Charles-Barclay is the one in pole position. She was injured, but she's put in a big dedicated block towards this race that not many other athletes did. They've been busy racing. And we're seeing her play her cards exactly how she has to. She's going to see Sarah Perez-Sala with her and think, this is perfect. The gap is massive. They still can't see them near the rest of the field, near the exit of the swim there. I think what's happened is we had Anne Haug, Ashleigh Gentle, Chelsea Sodaro, and everyone else in the field all working together in a big group. That will slow them down because they're all on each other's hips. We've got Rebecca Clark coming in here in third, and keep in mind, her gap out of the Aussie exit out of lap 1 was only 12 seconds. So she was actually still relatively close to Lucy Charles and Sarah Perez-Sala here. But it looked like it was more about the minute mark there. So that says that Sarah Perez-Sala and Lucy Charles went hard.
I think interestingly here, Sarah Perez-Sala did not wear a swim skin, and Lucy Charles-Barclay did, so that's going to cost her a few seconds in triathlon. Again, not super critical, but I just find it interesting that Sarah chose not to wear the swim skin, and I think that's because of the water temperature.
We've got this group that has everyone in it. It's a massive swim group. We saw Lottie Wilms lead the charge. Jocelyn McCauley was there. Chelsea Sodaro was there. Ali Salthouse was there. This is a group of really strong swimmers that have just had what looks to me to be 1 minute 50, 2 minutes put into them by Lucy Charles-Barclay and Sarah Perez-Sala.
Yeah, I actually think this is a great swim for Ashleigh Gentle. Ellie Salthouse, she's typically towards the front of the field. Fenella Langridge, we know, is a great swimmer, so again, this is a good little power group. I think this is a nice scenario playing out for some of our pre-race favourites. Interestingly, I didn't see Annie Haug come out with this group.
She didn't come out. She fell out of that group, from what I understand.
That was where that third group broke up late in that swim. You saw it happen with about 500 metres to go in that second lap where Annie Haug just dropped off the back. So, I mean, out of everyone in the field, she's probably the one who's had the worst swim for her race.
And on the screen now, the transition times, and Annie Haug is in top position there, 53 seconds for her to organise her equipment and get out on the bike.
So we see Annie Haug here. This is one of the climbs we talked about. You sort of can't quite tell on the screen how steep it is. Although you actually can a little bit more than other climbs, which tells you if you can see on a TV screen that it's steep, it means in real life it's even steeper.
It's horrible.
Look at Annie Haug. She's not even thinking about being in her TT bars. You can see that she's like rocking back and forth. This is a proper climb. The steepest pinch on this climb is actually 11%, which is, if you watch the Tour de France, that's as steep as the mountains, like the steepest mountains on the Queen Mountain stages. It's really hard. We talked about Annie Haug being like a really good climber and this course suiting climbers. You can see she's gone past Lottie Wilms, and now look how like quickly she's eating into these gaps, Crowe. So these hills really do suit light climbers, strong climbers.
So you caught some nice shots there of Sarah Perez-Sala and Lucy Charles-Barclay getting ready through T1.
And I think we do have to talk about John and Crowe, the fact that Lucy Charles can't let this race come back. So she's had a foot injury. She broke her foot. Her run training was a little minimal. So that's why we're seeing her make the decision to go around and keep this pace hot. She can't afford to let Annie Haug, Ash Gentle, Chelsea Sodaro and the rest of the women come back to this front group, because if she does, that makes this race incredibly difficult for her to win with minimal run training. So what we're going to see here is she's noticed, like Lucy Charles has noticed the pace has dropped. I've got to go to the front and take responsibility of this race, because Crowe, if she doesn't take responsibility of this bike and set the pace, it's going to be a really hard day for her.
And through the first sector on the bike, it is Annie Haug who is in top spot. But as you were saying, Crowe, I mean, Ashleigh Gentle just behind, Imogen Simmons with the same time as well. So it's very close there between those that are travelling the fastest over that first sector.
I want to add something quickly here. At the PTO European Open, when we saw the battle of Ashleigh Gentle, Annie Haug and Lucy Charles-Barclay, Lucy Charles-Barclay was 2 minutes ahead of Ashleigh and Anne into T2. Now we're seeing that only after 30k on this ride, Ashleigh's already caught Lucy Charles-Barclay, showing that the conditions, the course and the current form are so different.
Look at the way she's going past them here.
And in the TT bars too, Crowe, not sitting up climbing.
I think what was very telling in that close-up was just how relaxed Ashleigh looked, how comfortable. There didn't seem to be any stress or distress in her facial expression. She looks super comfortable. She looks great.
But Crowe, we also saw her sit behind the girls. She threw ice water on her back. She had about 4 or 5 drinks, and then she didn't just slowly go past them. She made a decisive, powerful move, and she's actually already gapped them. This is a huge move.
There is definitely a difference the way Ash is taking this technical section through triathlon. When we focus on some of the other women as they come through, Ash is pedaling through a lot of the corners, keeping her speed, keeping her momentum. As we see, Annie Haug has bridged that gap up now to Lucy Charles-Barclay and Sarah Perez-Sala. And again, we get to another, I guess, important stage of the race, Jack, here. What does Annie do here? Does she sit and recover, or does she continue her charge after Ashleigh?
I think it looks, Crowe, like she's made the decision to sit in, even if it's only for a little bit. We're seeing that these 3 women aren't riding that much slower than Ashleigh Gentle. They've all come through transition there to start lap 6, 40 seconds behind. Now, I know that we both think that Annie Haug believes she could run 40 seconds into Ashleigh Gentle, so maybe she's looking at the gap when they're crossing each other, thinking, okay, we've sort of got that in control, let me sit in and conserve, and if she does need to make a move because she sees the gap extending, then she'll make that decision. Crowe, I think what we're seeing is that these women are riding fast up this hill compared to some of the chase women. So Chelsea Sodaro has now lost another 30 seconds to Annie Haug and Ashleigh Gentle because of how fast they're cornering and climbing. We're seeing here, Crowe, that Annie Haug has made the decision to go to the front up this climb. I think because she felt that these two in Lucy Charles-Barclay and Sarah Perez-Sella weren't quite climbing as fast as she would have liked, and felt like maybe she was going to lose some time to Ashleigh Gentle.
Interesting to see Ash Gentle on top of the money list. I think she's been the most consistent, and she does target these races, and it looks like she's trying to add to her tally today.
We have also got news just in that Ali Salthouse has DNF'd. Oh, Annie Haug right here, mechanical.
What is that? That's around the wheel.
Yeah, it looks to me like she's picked up a bit of debris on course and it's just wrapped straight in around the drive chain, around the hubs. It has gone up over the wheel as well.
This is absolute disaster, though. Like, we're sitting here watching it. It's a real shame. This is disaster. This is going to be at least 2 minutes.
Oh, thank goodness. Come on, Anne. Let's go. Oh, come on.
It's just a bit of tape, is it, Crowe?
What is it? I have no idea what that... Oh, she's dropped an Allen key.
Oh, right.
Come on, Anne. Let's go. Let's get back in the fight.
Something just to point out there, Crowe, is she was so aware of not littering the streets of Singapore that she hasn't dropped on the road despite no doubt being frustrated. Chucked it down her shirt.
Yeah, she's a professional. I mean, she kept her composure there in such a frustrating situation. And what we did see on the other side of the screen, I don't know if you caught Ashleigh Gentle going the other way. So Ash Gentle is well aware of what has just happened to Annie Haug there.
There we see the dismount line. Ashleigh Gentle will be the first into T2 as she leaps off the bike. And let's just keep eyes on the efficiency of this stop.
You learn a lot the first few steps off the bike. She looks good. She looks fluid, should I say. Imogen Simmons is the one who's fluent in 5 languages.
Multiple languages.
Ashleigh Gentle actually looks fluid.
It's actually a good joke from you, Craig.
Oh, that's unfair. He's had me in stitches all week.
No offence, Jack, in case you were wondering.
Opted for enough time to put the socks on.
Yeah, she looks like she's done this 10,000 times before. Hurry slowly, as they say in transition. Do all the things that you need to do. Grab the nutrition, grab the sunnies, get the socks on. She looks great, Ash. Great leg turnover straight out of the gate.
Looks composed too, Crowe, as we see Imogen Simmons here in second place. How many people had Imogen Simmons coming in second into transition 2 today? I'm not sure. I don't think many. So what a bike ride from Imogen.
Yeah, that's a fantastic bike ride. She paced that beautifully. She goes for the socks as well.
Decent layer of sweat on these athletes, isn't there, given the humidity and the effort?
Yeah, I want to say, as we see Lucy Charles-Barclay come into T2, the temperature may have dropped slightly, but the humidity is still off the charts.
So we know of these three that Ashleigh Gentle was the one who grew up in the hottest, most humid conditions. And if we take our minds back to the PTO US Open in 2022, one of the hottest races we've ever seen, Ashleigh Gentle was by far the athlete who dealt with those conditions the best. So I think that's something to really keep an eye on. Out of these front few women, who handles this heat and humidity the best? Annie Haug here into T2, John and Crowe. So she's actually only 2 minutes 30 behind Ashleigh Gentle. Keep in mind, after that incident, she was 3 minutes 10 seconds back. So she's made up 40 seconds since that incident.
And she looks great. She looked great running off the bike there. Sorry, running the bike in. Be interesting to see. It's always good to look at the techniques as they head out on the course. Those who can get into hip extension early, get that leg turnover going. Anne looks great running out.
Anne Haug there has looked the best out of anyone we've seen into T2, both in and out. Crowe, I want to say that Ashleigh Gentle looks amazing here. Like, I'd pay someone $1 million if I could look like Ashleigh Gentle when I was running. But maybe doesn't look 10 out of 10. Like, I think that bike has taken something out of her. She still looks fantastic, and she looks like she's running really efficiently and fast, but maybe not to Ashleigh Gentle's absolute peak versus we saw Annie Haug look amazing out of T2. So this early run battle is going to be absolutely amazing. We are seeing that Ashleigh Gentle is the fastest runner on course as well right now. So she's actually pushed that gap out a little bit on Annie Haug. So she's now 2 minutes 48 seconds up on Annie Haug, but into T2 off the bike, she was actually only 2:30 ahead of Annie Haug. So she's put 18 seconds into Annie Haug in the first 2 kilometres, which I think none of us expected, but she clearly is feeling great on this run.
Lucy Charles-Barclay pulling up on the shoulder of Imogen Simmons here, and loving the race of both of these women today. They've just been consistent.
It does appear like Ashleigh Gentle is having one of the runs of her life.
She's got something to prove a little bit. Well, not to us, for sure. She is the queen of the PTO, but she hasn't won a PTO Tour race this year. And as much as she's been racing so brilliantly, this is a great opportunity now to get that win in 2023.
She just looks fantastic. Hopefully she's got a bit of time to look back at the city skyline and see one of the great views. She's coming down now, so she'll actually see. And Imogen and Lucy weren't that far away from this point when we last saw them, so she will see them as she's coming off. As we see Anne about to make the pass on Imogen, and this is such an incredible race venue, John.
It's very special, isn't it? The whole area is very special, but to race here around these streets.
We see Imogen give Anne a little pat on the back there as she makes the pass. Great camaraderie between these women. They've known each other and raced each other for a long time. But yeah, Singapore just do big events so well. This is an incredible venue.
This is a wonderful image of the course around Marina Bay. Annie Haug has closed in on Lucy Charles-Barclay, and she makes her pass.
She just looks so good, John. Like, I know I said it about Ash Gentle, I'd probably pay $1 million if I had it to look like her when I ran. The same thing goes for Annie Haug there as we see her make the pass on Lucy Charles-Barclay.
And just a reminder on Chelsea's story of 2023, a lot of disappointment, gents. It's just, she's had a couple of DNFs at the PTO in Ibiza, at Roth as well. So, but she talks about her strength of character, and she's had that kind of up and down career, but she's always there to the bitter end, and she's never far away from an outstanding performance.
Yeah, I mean, she's the Ironman world champion, reigning at present. And she's been in sport for a long time. And when you're in sport, it's one of the great lessons. It teaches you to deal with adversity. It teaches you to be resilient. You, as a professional athlete, by definition, you lose more than you win. So these women are as mentally as tough as any other athletes from any other sports. And it's great to see Chelsea getting a performance that she can be proud of, although she should be proud of all her performances.
As we look to bring this race home, all smiles from Ashleigh Gentle as she's counting down the steps, as she gets down the blue chute. She takes the high fives off of the crowd here in Singapore. Ashleigh Gentle is back on top. She wins the PTO Tour Singapore. What a fantastic performance by Ashleigh Gentle to close out her 2023 campaign.
That's Josh Amberger, her husband there, John. So just such a special moment as she falls to the ground. 2 seconds this year. This is the win she's been chasing. She dedicated her calendar year this year to the 3 PTO races. And what resilience to finally win one as the last one of the year. She can go home so content and so happy.
What a race by Annie Haug. She runs it home now. Annie Haug will take the second spot on the podium here in Singapore. Right over the line with a big smile on her face. Brilliant, excellent work by Annie Haug.
She gave a little shrug of the shoulders there, John, which to me, I interpreted that as what could have been. She only finished 2 minutes and 15 seconds down on Ashleigh Gentle.
It's been a standout performance here for Chelsea Sodaro. She always rises to the challenge. She loves racing the big field. She's gone up against the very best today, and she will run across the line in third place. Congratulations, Chelsea Sodaro.
She probably proved a lot to herself today, John. Look at that.
Y'all must have forgot, right?
Tears straight away to me, which shows pressure. I sensed relief there when she crossed the line.
The results for the PTO Asian Open. Ashleigh Gentle in first, Annie Haug in second, Chelsea Sodaro in third. A great race from Imogen, and Jocelyn McCauley rounds out the 10 top finishers here in Singapore. Congratulations to all of those.
I guess it was one of those days where I did feel quite good. The first half of the bike I actually felt really comfortable, but I was kind of chipping away at that lead. So yeah, I kind of got to Lucy and Sarah, and I just attacked, and at some point I'm like, what am I doing? But you know, I think I just had to go full gas and try and just get as much time as I could, because I knew that someone like Annie is coming from behind, and she's such a phenomenal athlete, and you know, really sad to see her with the mechanical today. Super unfortunate for her.
First I didn't know what happened. I thought my tire popped, and then I first had to figure out what the problem is. I just saw my spare tire all over the place, and yeah, then I had to unwind everything, and yeah, it was a bit like confusing, but you first have the shock, and then yeah, you need to go back and finish the race.
A fabulous end to the season then for Ashleigh Gentle, cementing her place as world #1 and queen of the PTO. Up next, the Norwegian Legion go head-to-head. Don't go anywhere. You have to admit, it is a fairly stunning setting in which to hold the final PTO race of the season. And for the athletes, it's a last chance to write a headline for themselves, the last chance to bank $100,000, and the last chance to wear the crown of Open Champion. Singapore translates as the Lion City, and that is about right today, with some of triathlon's biggest cats hungry, prowling, and determined to finish as King of the Pride.
We are racing in Singapore. 100 kilometres of top swim bike run here for the PTO Asian Open. It's a top class field, all competing for a share of $600,000 as well as lucrative PTO points. The men are in the water. They are tackling a 2 kilometre swim consisting of 2 loops and an Aussie exit. We are straight into matters, Crowe. The water temperature, 30.8 degrees. The air temperature, 31.2 degrees. Not a lot of difference out there. It is stifling, it's oppressive, and it does change things.
Who would have thought it could get warmer than yesterday? So looks like the water temp's gone up a couple of degrees, and these athletes, they're prepared for it though. They've done the swim familiarisation, and there's so many questions that need to be answered, and we're going to get answers in the next few hours, but I'm really excited for this one. We already see Ben Canute, who started on the far right. He's making his way over, and he's just tacking into the back there. It looks like Aaron Royal leading the swim.
Josh Amberger as well is up there in the green cap, number 15. And the purple cap is Ben Canute.
John, straight off the bat, we can see Jason West there in the white cap. He's sitting 4th feet. Now, the key for Jason West today is to sort of hold on to this front group for as long as he can in the swim, because we all know how good a runner he is. This is the furthest towards the front we've ever seen him in a PTO swim at this stage of the swim. Aaron Royal there sitting in 3rd feet, John and Crowe. A lot of us are we just expect Aaron to go straight to the front of the swim. Now, talking to Aaron in transition today, maybe he ate something bad on his travel over or caught a little bit of a bug on the travel over. He has been experiencing some sort of he doesn't have gastro, but some sort of mild sickness throughout the last 3 days. He's not sick, but he's not at 100% either. So that sort of explains why Josh Amberger's had to take responsibility at the front of this swim, and we find Aaron just sort of relaxing a little bit in 3rd. The one thing we've got to keep an eye on is Gustav Iden is sitting second last feet now in this group, and just keep an eye on whether he does stick there or whether he does start to fade on the back end of this lap. The Aussie exit's going to be really important in today's race because the group is sort of still together and bunched up. So usually when the Aussie exit happens, that's when the breaks really start.
As we see now, Josh first up, doesn't seem to be in too much of a hurry. It looks like he wants someone else to get in front and take the lead. We just saw him wave Daniel Bakkegaard through, so you don't often see that in the race, but it looks like he wants one or two of the other athletes to share the heavy lifting with him, but they are still compressed together pretty much as one pack.
That Aussie exit was a bit messy, wasn't it, Crow? It's really hard to get out of, and it can lead to some separation. We saw Jason West on the feet of Kristian Blummenfelt, so that's a good position for him to be in. That was about 8th and 9th feet. In 4th place there, we saw it was actually Sam Appleton. Sam Laidlow came out in 5th. So Sam Appleton having a much better swim than he did at the US Open.
We see now in the swim, tactically something's happened out here. We got Daniel on the front and Josh Amberger on his feet, but we saw Aaron Royal take an exit stage right there. I'm not sure if he's picking a different line. They seem to be going to the right of the swim buoy, whereas Daniel and Josh have just got their heads down.
It's really interesting. It's going to be fascinating to see how it plays out on the bike because of the nature of the bike course as well is quite tough. So definitely in the water here, I think that they are going quite conservatively because you can see such a big pack. It's nice to see them spreading out now so they can just swim, behind each other's feet. But yeah, it's quite a big group, and as you can see here too, whoever's in second place there, their swim cap has come off. So
it's melted off.
Yeah,
the temperature.
And even Daniel Bakkegaard, he's in 4th there. His cap has come off too. So there's a lot of these athletes that are quite hard to identify at the moment.
Sam Appleton there in 2nd, I think it is.
It's interesting to see just the different techniques. Josh Amberger with a very relaxed recovery. Aaron Royal, beautiful technical stroke. Daniel Bakkegaard looks more like an open water swimmer, and there's no right or wrong reason, but you can see a lot of these men at the front come from a swimming background. They have swimming pedigree and they have beautiful strokes.
All strung out coming into T1 now.
It'll be interesting to see their reaction too when they look back and see how big this group is. So those top guys might have a bit of a shock seeing how many people are in the front group here.
Yeah, this is an interesting dynamic. This is the biggest lead group that we've seen out of the water on the PTO Tour. And I think it's all because of the conditions, the heat and humidity.
There you saw Aaron actually turning around. You'd see him looking back, and yeah, he's probably quite surprised that there's nearly the whole field in that front group.
And Ashleigh, can you tell us what it's like when that heart rate's jacked and you're trying to fiddle around with your equipment to get yourself going even before you get up to the bike?
Yeah, definitely. It's all about just getting that swim skin off as fast as possible, but also trying not to rush. Whenever you panic, that's when you're going to make the biggest mistake. So you just kind of relax as much as you can and, yeah, try and get everything in the box and out into the bike.
It's interesting to see names like David McNamee in this front group. David, of course, known for 2 podium finishes at the Ironman World Championships. Is good in the heat and humidity. This is the first time I think he's made the front swim group on the PTO Tour, so he's in a really great position as we see the men go through transition now. Christian's right in the thick of it, as is Sam Laidlow.
A more conservative approach to the swim from Laidlow, Jack, do you think?
I think a combination of maybe not feeling his best. He's one of those men who, when he's feeling great, he races aggressively no matter the conditions, no matter the course. So I think maybe that's the biggest factor, and he's decided just to sit in and race a bit conservatively, sort of like what we saw Aaron Royal do in the first lap before he obviously felt a little bit better and like the pace was a little bit slower.
Ash, you're pointing something out on screen there. Someone's holding something in their suits.
I think that might have been Mika there. He had, and Tom Bishop, you can see, it seems like they've got some sort of bladder, I guess, for extra nutrition, extra water, but also for aerodynamics. I think that a lot of people are testing faster with something down their tri-suit, and you can see Aaron Royal also has one in his tri-suit too, so it's probably not a bad idea when you're actually in these hot and humid conditions too. You've got some extra water on board and you can be more aerodynamic as well.
Aaron Royal, Mick Newt, Tom Bishop, they're all really good friends. They all talk about this regularly and what is fastest down their suit. They're all wearing the exact same Camelback down their suit, sort of like a 1 litre Camelback. They were all getting it ready before they got in the swim this morning. So, yeah, that's what we can see down the front of their tops. And I noticed on a lot of the other bikes that I saw at least 15 of them sitting on the bikes.
Seems like Aaron Royal's having some trouble with his race kit and just making some adjustments to that Camelback. But it makes sense if you can be more aerodynamic and get access to more water. I mean, hydration's key. Keeping your core body temperature down in these conditions is probably the most important thing that these athletes are thinking about right now, and the best way to do that is to stay right on top of your hydration.
The one man who spent all of his time focusing on just this race is the man who we've just seen come up into second position. Mick Newt's strength is the bike. Now, he's a very well-rounded triathlete. He came fourth at the Ironman 70.3 World Championships, but his strength really is the bike. I said he prepared specifically for this race. He spent the last month and a half in Thailand in the heat. He's dedicated his life to winning this race. He left home. He went there by himself. He's the only man in the group who dedicated everything to this day.
Mick Newt still out in front, and we've had a few changes. Peter Himmerich is in second, Kristian Blummenfelt in third, Aaron Royal in fourth, Ben Canute fifth, and Ashleigh Josh is in sixth.
As we see,
pictures here of Sam Laidlow in transition. Came into this ill health.
Yeah, I saw him yesterday morning. He had fevers and a temperature. I guess it was a brave or potentially a stupid decision to start the race today, but when you're sick, you're just not going to perform up to your normal level, particularly in a field of this caliber. You know, we've seen Mick Newt and we've talked about him and his specific prep in the heat for this. I want to ask you, Jack, are you surprised to see this sort of breaking up like it is?
I think Mick Newt's move was pretty decisive there. We see Peter Himmerich just move around him there. Two people maybe a lot of others wouldn't have expected to be at the front of the race, but they are really causing a lot of separation here, Crowe. We sort of had a bit of a gap from, like, Jason West is down in 10th. He is 38 seconds back, but then there's sort of another 15-second gap between him and the next person. So we do seem to have got a bit of a gap from the first 10. Now, a couple of big sort of moves early. Sam Laidlow's down over 2 minutes 30 back. Gustav Iden's a long way back as well now, so maybe he wasn't lying. He's 90 seconds back from the lead here. That's not at all where we're used to seeing Gustav Iden.
I'm intrigued by this race. These are certainly bigger time gaps than I expected to see after 30 kilometres. I don't think... as we see...
Is that Gustav?
Gustav.
Oh, it is.
The race is sort of going from bad to worse for Gustav.
That's around the far U-turn too. He would have done 1 million of those in his life. So that it would be interesting to get some camera on that.
So these are pictures, sadly, of Gustav Iden's race. He came off the bike, and that is the end of his race. He does seem to be a little bit injured, and the staff are saying to him roadside as a couple of his competitors passed him at that 180-degree bend. The pain that he'll be going through will extend further than these superficial injuries, hopefully just superficial injuries that we see right here.
Crowe, I'm just trying to put myself in the mind of Jason West. With the position he's in, like, it might seem quite bad that he's in 11th and 3 minutes 15 seconds down, but you know, that's only to Peter Himmerich, and it's actually only 2 minutes to that sort of main chase group of Mick Newt, Kristian Blummenfelt and Aaron Royal. Now, everyone between him and that group, I think he would look at as being able to run 4, 5, 6 minutes faster than. So do you think if you could take yourself in his mind as someone who used to do exactly what he does, which is play it conservative in the bike and then run through the field, would he be thinking that, I think I can put this much time into these guys, I'm going to sit back, I'm going to chill out, I'm going to relax, I'm going to make sure I'm the freshest out of everyone in this sort of top 11 going into the run so that I can run through it and play my strength?
Yeah, I think there's an element of that, and there's also just an element of a very confident, composed athlete racing to his strengths, not getting sidetracked, and it's kind of what we see Jan Frodeno do, and we've seen him many times. I mean, Jan doesn't race other people's races. He races to his strengths, and I think that's what we're seeing Jason West do right here. He looks comfortable, he looks composed, he looks completely relaxed. We saw him take some time through the aid station. I think he's in the A1 position right now.
What's happened here with Aaron Royal? Chain stuck maybe, Crowe?
Yeah,
Rear derailleur issues. The bike mechanic's absolutely sprinting to go and help him.
So what are we looking at here, Jack?
It's
Some
just
issues here for Aaron?
It just looked like a little bit of a stuck chain potentially. Maybe the chain sort of dropping out of his rear derailleur, and they sort of had to link it back into so that the chain would run through that rear derailleur, and it looked like it had been getting sort of a little bit stuck, Crowe. Is that what you saw?
yeah, it could have been just a stiff link that you get. Maybe it wasn't running through.
That's Tom Bishop there that we just saw on the side of the road. The PTO US Open, he had a mechanical at almost the same point of the race, and he's had it again here. And this here that we're seeing is Mike Phillips. So that's 3 mechanicals we've seen in the last sort of 5K of the race after it was really smooth. We sort of expected there to be big time carnage in this race because of the conditions, and you wonder if some of this is caused by the conditions, the really hot roads. But to have 3 mechanicals like that, Tom Bishop walking up on the hill, Aaron Royal having the mechanical, Mike Phillips, one of the strongest cyclists in World Triathlon, stuck on the side of the road. We also had Gustav Iden with that crash. This race is really becoming quite a chaotic, anything can happen at any moment race. I think what we're seeing today, which we didn't see yesterday in the women's race sort of got established, and it just played out how everyone expected it from about halfway, and this men's race couldn't be any more different. It is complete chaos. Literally anything could and is happening, and I mean, from here, like, strap on in, buckle up your seatbelt, anything can happen.
It's very interesting to watch Daniel. He's just riding a high cadence. He seems to be trying to just manage his effort as he sprays Aaron there.
A little water fights out on course, why not?
Well, they've just spent time training together over in Thailand and probably established a really strong friendship, so how good is triathlon? Sport can be really ruthless at times, can't it, Crowe? Like Mike Phillips had that really unfortunate mishap, and then the ruthless nature of sport, like one of the world's best endurance athletes having the race of his life at this point, chasing him down. Peter Hemrich isn't really thinking about, oh, poor Mike Phillips lapping out. He's thinking about the opportunity that lays in front of him. So he's not going to let the pedal off the gas just because Mike Phillips is there to sort of let him continue this race. It's sort of a dog-eat-dog world, the professional triathlon.
Yeah, well, that's professional sport. I mean, there's a camaraderie. We saw Tom Bishop cheering. I mean, his day's done. Probably heartbroken as well. He's come halfway around the world, but he still sits out on the course and cheers for friends and training partners as we see Peter make that pass and they exchange pleasantries. Not a great feeling for Mike, but really not much he could do about that.
That's day done for Mike Crowe. So that's Sam Laidlow's day done, Gustav Iden's day done, Mike Phillips' day done, Tom Bishop's day done.
Yes, it's quite the war of attrition out there at the moment, I think. And probably more to come, because I think, as we've seen so many times, when you get off the bike and run, that's when your heart rate spikes, that's when the effort's the highest, and that's when usually the carnage is the most. So, as you mentioned, we have seen probably a lot more chaos in this bike course than we expected.
So Peter Hemrich leads out the PTO Asian Open. Mikanut is in second, 1:30 behind, and making up the podium as it stands with a long way to go, Kristian Blummenfelt. And here we are in transition.
Yeah, as we see Peter make the change from bike to run here. We're going to learn a lot the first few kilometres of this run. Not only how Peter looks and what kind of pace he's holding, but he has extended the lead. It's out to I think 2:40 back to Christian and Mika, and Daniel Bakkegaard's making a late charge in this run, similar to what we saw Imogen Simmons do in the women's race yesterday. And he looks a little ginger, Peter. Sometimes it can take you a little bit of time to get more fluid, not fluent. But yeah, now we see him get into stride, and as Gustav mentioned, he is known for his run, so he's in the box seat here, but we're still a long way to go in this heat and humidity.
Okay, here we go through transition, and Kristian Blummenfelt has dismounted and he's run his way into park his bike. And I'll hand it over to you experts to try and analyse what he does through here and how he looks.
Well, he hasn't cramped, so he's already one step ahead of where he was in Milwaukee. And yeah, I think again it's just very experienced here, Kristian. We just see him get through transition really well. He'll have a great, he's always one of the fastest in transitions, and he's now out on the run. As we see Daniel Bakkegaard come in and rack his bike. Mika Nut's out in third spot. Great race so far for him. Daniel has really closed the ride. He's closed the ride out really well, and I think he's got Aaron Royal with him there. So we can see Peter on the left of our screen. Peter Hemrich still looking really good, turning the legs over. But we are just in the embryonic stages of this run course. There's a lot of this race still to unfold. As who was that who made their way out there behind Daniel? I didn't see who that was. Or maybe that was Casper, who was wrecking and getting out. So yeah, he's right in the thick of this race too. Daniel taking a little extra time in transition here. Casper got through very quickly, so he's through and out onto the course. Every second that you're standing still is awful in transition. You don't want to. Oh, Daniel, a little bit of confusion. He doesn't know. Oh no, someone's told him to go back, and
he's got to get everything in the bucket, or he would suffer a penalty. I think we saw that with Sarah Perez-Sala yesterday. But
Kristian Blummenfelt had a fast transition there, John. He made up 20 seconds on Peter Hemrich in transition.
Wow.
So when they crossed paths then, that gap would have maybe been a little bit smaller than Kristian Blummenfelt expected it to be. And you can see as Kristian Blummenfelt takes that right-hand turn, we still haven't seen Mika Nut in the shot. Oh, there he is now. Yeah. So he's about 5 to 6 seconds back. So Kristian Blummenfelt did get a little bit of time on Mika Nut in transition there, and he did catch up a little bit on Peter Hemrich. Peter Hemrich still looks amazing, though. To me, he looks great. He looks fast. He looks fluent, as Crowley would say. But so did Kristian, and so did Mika. Just here watching the gap being closed by Jason West to Daniel Bakkegaard to take him up into third.
You don't run well if the swim and bike takes too much out of you, if you don't pace it well, and if you don't have a strategy that you execute. He knows the fastest way for him to get from point A to point B, and what we see him doing is having the discipline and the confidence to stick to his plan, race his races. We see Kristian come in at the end of his first lap in the run, so he'll be heading out on lap 2 shortly as we see Jason make the pass on Daniel now.
Here we're seeing the catch about to happen, Crowe. This is on the downhill section, so they've just climbed up, and then just right now at the very bottom of the descent, Kristian Blummenfelt running noticeably faster down that hill to Peter Hemrich. That gap to me looks all of 5 to 6 seconds, Crowe, so that change in leadership is about to happen. Like we've said, Peter Hemrich not running slow. Kristian Blummenfelt just on an absolute career day here, and I hate to say it, Crowe, but is he going to finally get that PTO win he's craving? We don't know, but he's in the box seat.
It's great to see how he just attacked this race early on the bike, and
you can feel his presence as well now, fellas, as well. It gets claustrophobic out there with the humidity, and then when you've got the top guy, the big gun, coming past,
yeah,
there it is. We have a new leader here in the PTO Tour Asia Singapore. Kristian Blummenfelt out front.
As we see Jason right at the top now of the Marina Barrage, he's about to tackle that downhill section. Doesn't look as fluid as Kristian did running down there, so still moving super well though.
Well, Kristian Blummenfelt is starting to smile now. Lots of support out there on the course. He's having some fun.
Oh, what a relief this must be. He must be on cloud 9 here. He just couldn't win one of these, and he's done it here today, John. This is... And he's in such dominant fashion. Of course he's going to be celebrating. Like, he's in another postcode here today. He's having one of the performances of his life, and that's saying a lot because he's had some amazing performances.
A quite remarkable race, an incredible schedule over the summer of 2023. This man is rewriting the triathlon playbook. He can quite literally do it all. And he's closing in on that tape.
What an athlete.
Kristian Blummenfelt is the PTO Tour Asian Champion 2023. He's done it. He's pocketed himself a PTO Tour race, and he's done it in quite some fashion.
Finally, Kristian, you've got one. How good. And you heard him sort of scream over the finish line. Trust me, that's what he's thinking. I finally got one of these things. Everyone kept saying I couldn't win a PTO race, but here I am, I've won it. Finally.
And what a race for Peter Hemrich. He sprints his way across the finish line. He comes home second at the PTO Asian Tour. What a remarkable performance as he jumps into the ice bath.
Career day for Peter Heimrich. Like, if you had Peter Heimrich as second on your podium today, you are a triathlon genius. No one was picking that. What a day.
And there is Jason West crossing the line. He makes up our podium here in Singapore. The men's finishes up like this. So with the performance for the ages, Kristian Blummenfelt comes in first, twice a top 10 finisher in PTO races. Peter Heimrich steps onto the podium into second. He goes home to Quinn and Oliver with a nice silver medal to show them, his sons. Jason West picked up third today. The silent assassin adds that to his silver that he got in Milwaukee. That has been quite something out here in Singapore. We hope you enjoyed the racing.
I don't want to start by saying finally, but does it in some ways feel finally?
Definitely,
PTO champion.
definitely. Like, it's been a race I wanted to win for, since it since 2020, like Daytona, and I've been chasing this one, and especially after the 2 races I've done already this year with Ibiza and US Open, I felt, oh, it's a massive relief.
Job done. Well, we promised you thrills and spills aplenty here at the PTO Asian Open, and my word, did these extraordinary athletes deliver. And if 2023 is anything to go by, we have got so much more to look forward to in 2024. But until then, from all of the team, it's bye for now.
Don't be so damn surprised every time I come by.